Many new authors don't have the budget to hire a professional narrator or audiobook producer. In this presentation, I'm going to walk authors through the process to prepare their audiobook script, how to record it in Audacity, and then mastering the files so they are approved by ACX or Findaway Voices to self-publish their audiobook. I taught myself how to do this the hard way. Learning these skills can help you save time and money on your author journey. At the end of this presentation, you'll have an idea of whether this is the right option for you and your book. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome to the 2023 Authortube Writing Conference. My name is MK Williams. I'm an author and independent publisher. I love sharing my insights all about self-publishing with you. The theme of this year is all about technology, and today we're going to dive into the nitty-gritty of self-producing an audiobook. When you self-produce, you also do the audio mixing and sometimes the narration too. Many new authors don't have the budget to hire a professional narrator or audiobook producer. Before we go any further, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. I know you're enjoying all this really great Authortube Writing Conference content, but I have a lot of really great content I also put on my channel every week about books, publishing, all the things about making an author career, okay? Today, we're going to go over how you, an author, and not a voice professional, could record and self-produce your own audiobook. If you are an audiophile, this is not the presentation for you. If you are a professional narrator, please comment with your services below in the comment box, because more than a few authors watching this will in fact realize that this is too much to manage on their own and they may want to hire you. Also, any notes or tips are appreciated. I don't see self-publishing as an end to professional narration. We need professionals. I know my self-narrated audiobooks do not sound as good as those that were done professionally, but I've learned a lot in the process. I keep getting better each time. It also helps me find typos in the content to correct before publication. And I always have the option to do a second edition of the audiobook with a voice actor. Now, because this is pre-recorded, I'm going to be answering questions in the chat right over here. And I'll continue to answer questions in the comment section below. All right. Today, we're going to go over the actual production of the audiobook. Why do you even want to have an audiobook and which platforms to pick from? I have videos on that up here. How to actually upload? Yep, more tutorials on that up here. I'm going to have links above and below for both. So if you want that information, save those to watch later. Let's dive in. The first is your script preparation. You might think, well, the script, that's just my book, duh. Well, is it? For fiction authors, are you planning to voice the different accents for your characters? You'll need to prepare a bit. And if you're doing a different voice for each character, you'll need to practice and have a clear guide for which voice is which. If all your male characters sound the same, you're going to need to keep in all the dialogue tags explaining who's speaking and when. Generally, you'll be acting out the dialogue tags. So if your character voices are distinct enough, you don't have to say, "Wait," Sally whispered. You can just say, "Wait," in your Sally voice. For nonfiction authors, you might be thinking you're getting off easy because you don't have many voices in your book. But you're not getting off easy. Why? Because so many of you rely on graphs and charts and images that cannot be seen in an audiobook. Referencing, as you'll see on the next page, nope, we won't see anything. It's an audiobook. You need to go through the manuscript and search for above, below, see, and all references that make sense when someone is reading a book and amend that for an audiobook. So, as you'll see on the next page, should become as we'll discuss next. If you have a lot of graphs and images that you want users to be able to access, create a separate unlisted web page that references and directs listeners to this page. Make it short and sweet, like website.com/graphs or website.com/images. Now that your script is ready, you may need to make sure you are set up to record. For the recording setup itself, you're going to need a microphone. Again, I'm not an audiophile, so I'm sure there are AV nerds out there who are screaming at the screen right now that there's a better option. Yeah, there probably is, but these options work too. I've recorded in audiobooks with this microphone right here, the ATR 2100 with my little sound muff. And I've also recorded on a blue Snowball and a blue Yeti. These are really great and fairly affordable USB plug-in microphones. do not use your cell phone. Do not use the built-in microphone on your computer. You're going to have to invest a little bit in your hardware. For the software, I use Wondershare Filmora. It's actually the same software that I use to record my videos right now. I just record audio only. I paid for the lifetime access back in 2019. But you can use Audacity for free. And that is the software I'm going to show you today. And any edits that you may need to make that come from ACX or Findaway Voices, they're likely going to give you the instructions for how to go exactly to Audacity and make the change, okay? Next, we're going to talk about your location to be ready to record. Obviously, don't record next to your washing machine while it's running, or next to your AC handler when the AC is kicking on. Find a quiet space in your home. This may be a closet with lots of clothes surrounding you for padding. Not perfect, not a professional recording studio, but better than nothing. When you are recording, assume that if you can hear a noise like a plane flying overhead, a neighbor mowing the lawn, or washing machine running, that your microphone can pick it up too. Wait to record until the noise is gone. Or if you're speaking and hear the plane fly over, stop talking. Wait for the plane to fly away, then start speaking again. Same goes for if you are advancing your script with your mouse. The scroll wheel makes noise. Effectively, don't talk while any outside noise is going on. Okay, so when it comes to actually recording, to that end, you'll be the only one who knows if you have to hit pause because you'll cut that noise later. I'll show you how to do that. Same goes for any errors. Stop, pause, take a breath, and retake that line. In general, make sure that you're well hydrated, not just having water right before you record, but all day. Stay hydrated so you don't get this mouthy sound. I like to record for only 30 minutes at a time. If I go for longer than that, my attention to voice and tone just fade. I get bored. I start to rush. Don't rush. Go slower than you think you need to. Remember, the listener, when they're listening to the final produced audiobook, they can hit the 2x speed when the book is done. But if you're kind of rushing in some spaces and slower in others, it makes for a bad listening experience. The number one thing I want you to remember is to smile, take a breath, and then 3, 2, 1, recording. All right, now we're going to dive into actually how we're going to record in Audacity. All right, so once you have Audacity set up, this is what it looks like. It's super basic. It looks kind of a little web 1.0, but you know what? It gets the job done. It doesn't need to look fancy. Now, I mentioned that I also record using Wondershare Filmora. It's the same software I use to record videos, and I can just record audio on it. But I use Audacity a lot when I'm editing and mastering my files anyways, so sometimes it's a lot easier if I just go ahead and record here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how you would go about doing that. Now, I don't know if it's going to let me record the screen cap while I'm also recording in Audacity. So if it doesn't let me do that, then I will find a way to still show you how everything works. All right, so here you have your file. Obviously save file name, make edits, and there's a lot of other effects. Now there is apparently, I've heard this from several authors, that you can purchase an add-on with your effects that would just say, make this Amazon KDP ready. I did not purchase that. And again, a lot of you, if you're starting out, are probably trying to save some money on these productions. So I don't have that to show you, but I'm going to show you everything else. So first of all, I'm going to start a recording. It's simple as that, just to show you from there, and then we're going to edit it together, okay? Okay, so before getting started, I'm actually going to adjust my recording up here to mono instead of stereo. Now, ACX or Findaway Voices, they want all your files to be one type, either mono or stereo. Now, stereo is the idea where you're going to hear some things on the left, you're going to hear some things on the right, and it can be a more engaging experience if somebody's listening with headphones, but it may not be consistent for everybody. So I prefer to do things in mono. Yes, it flattens the sound, but everybody gets the same experience regardless of the devices that they're using to listen with. So I always like to record in mono. Now up here, you're going to hit the red to record. And when you're done recording, you're going to hit stop. And if you want to play back, you're going to hit play. So some of that is a little intuitive, but I want to make sure that you're aware. So I'm going to go ahead and record as though I am recording the opening credits to my audiobook. Now, the opening credits and closing credits are required. For the opening credits, you need to say the title, the author's name, the narrator's name, in this case, you're both, the copyright year, and the audio copyright year. All rights reserved. And then for your closing credits, you have to say the end and reiterate those items. So I'm going to show you right now how we would record that, and then we're going to cut it, okay? Interview with a van lifer. Oh, that didn't sound right. Interview with a van lifer. Written and read by Mary Kate Williams. Written and narrated by M.K. Williams. Copyright 2022. Audio copyright 2023. All rights reserved. All right. Now we're going to go back through. As you can see, I did not like how I pronounced that the first time, so I'm going to want to cut that. And I did a clap. Now you'll see this really loud peak here. I'm not an AV expert, but in general, the ACX and Findaway Voices don't like it when these peaks are touching the end, all right? It means it's too loud, it's too much. But for me, it's a really nice place to know, oh, I messed up here. Oh, I didn't like how I said that here. So I am actually going to go and listen back. I can hit play, and I can know where I'm going to go ahead and cut. So this is very helpful to do those claps. Sorry if I hurt your ears when I did that, but that is a way for me to know. And you'll notice I hovered over the stop before I actually stopped the recording. That's going to come into play later. This is a moment to grab your pencils. So you have to have 0.5 minutes or 30 seconds of what's called room tone before the start of every chapter, and 1 minute to 2 minutes of room tone at the end. Now, I think 2 minutes is way too long for room tone, but you need to have some room tone at the end that kind of ends the chapter before the next one begins. So it's not just boom, right away, one's cutting into the next. So we're going to also cut that. So we're going to cut out the parts that I didn't like because that's the whole part, is you have to listen back and edit it, and you have to make sure you have your room tone and your sound correct. Now that we have our audio file, we need to edit in Audacity. Now, some people do what's called punch and roll. They edit as they record. That's a really pro skill, and there's some really fancy elevated softwares that let you do that. I'm not a pro, and I don't have that software. So I just record all the way through, and then I go back through and listen, and I cut out my edits. One thing you can do is to do a clap, and it makes a really big audio wave, so you can see, oh, there was something around here I needed to cut. So you'll see it on the sound wave, and if something happened here. And you'll hear me say, yes, I had to re-listen to the whole thing, to the edits. Yeah, you need to listen to the whole thing. Just like with your self-publishing books, you have to read it multiple times to self-edit it. You're going to have to self-edit your audiobook. You have to listen to the whole thing. So if you don't want to listen to the whole thing, don't even make an audiobook, because even if you hire a professional, you have to listen to it to make sure it's correct, okay? Now, I'm going to be going over some production tips. Now, in general, you don't want to hit your audio peaks too close to the edge. You need to have room noise at the edge. You need to look out for your decibels, and I'm also going to show you Audio Lab. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I didn't like that at all. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to click right here where I have this clap that I didn't like. I'm just going to highlight this whole part here, and I'm going to hit Edit, Cut, or I can hit Control X. Boom, I don't want it. Now, I made sure I still had enough space here for the room tone so I could get that done. I know I didn't like how I said my name, so I'm going to cut that as well. Edit, Cut. Again, you can use Control X. Boom. I think there's probably a little too much space there between those two, so. And cut. Okay. Now I'm going to listen back. Oh, I need that. All right. Interview with a van lifer. Written and narrated by M.K. Williams. Copyright 2022. Audio copyright 2023. All rights reserved. Cool. All right. That's gotta hit pause. All right. That sounds pretty good to me. Now, it does sound a little tinny. I'm using a blue Snowball microphone to record right now, which is usually fine for when I do these screen captures for you. I would not pick this. I'm also facing a wall, and I have the whole open room behind me. Again, this is not ideal situation. What I would usually want to do is actually be in a corner, have the walls kind of surrounding me and actually have some nice fabric, which is why I say a closet can be a really great place if you don't have the money yet to invest in getting a little recording closet at home. You can hear it sounds really tinny, and that's because I have all this open space behind me for everything to bounce off of. But for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going ahead with that. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure I have this really short room tone here at the beginning, so I can look and see if I go right here, I am at, and it's even showing me where I have my selection, and I'm looking at this right down here. So I can see, hey, all right, I have, oh, that's audio position. So I am at 1.2 seconds when this starts. I'm going to cut off half of that. So that should get me a good amount of that room tone time, but not be too much. Okay, so now it's showing that it's starting at this 0.49 seconds. I actually want to cut just a little bit more. So I'm going to cut just a little bit more there. And now it's starting at 0.3 seconds. Perfect. I love that. That should be more than enough room tone at the beginning there. And I liked everything else. So I'm actually going to go to the end here. And I'm going to right to the very last part where I see that wave. So it says the audio position is at 13.16 seconds. So I literally want this to end at 14.16 seconds. So I'm going to move this. All right, so I've highlighted everything, and now I'm going to drag this till I get to 14.16, which you can see it's adjusting on the bottom. Okay, that's pretty darn close, and that should get me the amount of room tone that I need, so I'm going to hit cut. Okay, and now I have my opening credits. So what I want to do is I want to hit File, Save, always save the project. And it always opens up in Audacity, so I can navigate elsewhere on my desktop. I usually like to keep everything on a separate thumb drive for the book, audio files, original files, mastered files, final files, like lots of subfolders. So this is okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to export as an MP3. So the self-publishing platforms require this as an MP3 file, so I'm going to export as an MP3. Okay. Credit example. All right, you definitely want to have your quality at this 256 or higher. Lower than that, it will be rejected. And you want a constant bit rate. Yeah, so the official requirements is that you must have a quality of 192 kbps or higher, so the 256 gets you that. And you have to have a constant bit rate, not a variable bit rate. Okay, so constant bit rate is very important. And again, this is already in mono. If it was in stereo, I could say force export to mono. And sometimes I see this, and I even did this myself when I first recorded audiobooks, was I would record it, I didn't realize I was recording in stereo, or I would record in one spot and then I'd be editing it in Audacity and be like, oh, I just need to add one thing and add it in. First of all, that doesn't sound very good. And then all of a sudden it was converting from stereo to mono and back, and then it kept getting kicked back. So you really want to make sure if everything is in mono, it's in mono. If everything is in stereo, it's in stereo, and just be really consistent with that. Cool, and it takes negligible time to export opening credits because they are so small. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna show you the ACX Audio Lab, where I'm actually gonna go and I'm gonna upload this file and I'm gonna see, hey, does this like meeting the requirements? Is it not loud enough? Other things that I just can't see here. Okay, so this is ACX Audio Lab. Now, again, if you're saying, well, I only want to submit through Findaway Voices, and that's how I want to get my distribution to Audible and Amazon, that's totally fine. I find that with this Audio Lab, if the files are going to be approved through ACX, they're going to be approved through Findaway Voices. They have similar requirements, and that's why I always kind of default to ACX, because they have always been much more persnickety, as you might say, about the files. So I know if it's good through ACX, it'll be good through Findaway Voices and vice versa. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. All right, I'm going to find an audio file and upload it. Okay, so I have to navigate to my Audacity file to find that where I saved it. Oh, look, there's the project, and then there's the MP3. So you obviously want to be analyzing the MP3 output. Okay, open. And it tells you right here what it's going to analyze it for, peak levels, bit rate, anything like that. And look, it says that my volume is too low. RMS, I actually don't know what it stands for, but I know it's the volume. The volume is too low. And it's telling me exactly what I need to do. Raise the level of the file by 1.9 decibels. Okay, that's super helpful. So I'm actually now going to go back into Audacity. I'm going to double click here and it selects everything. So from that gray to this light blue. I'm going to Effect, Amplify. Okay, now it says I can get the amplification up by 3.9 decibels. I only need it to go up by 1.9. So I'm going to do that right now, 1.9. Ooh, look at those waves. They look a little bit bolder now. So I'm going to go ahead and save. And then I'm going to export. Yes, another one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save over the existing file. I know the other file wasn't acceptable. I don't want to keep it. I don't want it anywhere near getting messed up when I go to actually upload. Yes, it already exists. You can replace it. That's fine. Now what I usually like to do is run everything through Audio Lab. You can actually upload multiple files at a time and actually export an Excel sheet of all the edits you have to make and then just go back and do those. So I say usually master, edit the files the way you like them to sound. And then what you're going to do, this part is called mastering the file, where you're actually going to go through, analyze it, make these little tweaks and go from there. Okay, so I'm going back into this one now. As you can see, I can download this report. It produces an Excel file that would tell me the same thing. I've done this before where I was doing an entire book and I had 10 chapters that all needed different things. So I just downloaded the report, made the edits, re-uploaded them. So I'm going to go ahead and analyze another file, which is, surprise, surprise, the same file. Now it's interesting, it's leaving the old information here for me, so I just have to remember in my mind, like, that one's not accurate anymore. I had to go to the other one. No issues found, and that's exactly what we want to see. So then when you actually go to upload the audiobook files, which I have entire videos on that you can check out another time, I can go ahead and upload, and I should not be getting any of those little red caution signs. Now what's interesting is, say you decide, MK, I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to go ahead and upload. What it'll do is, if you do have any issues, it's pretty much going to produce this same kind of output saying, hey, this file isn't going to go through, it's too loud, it's not loud enough, the peaks are hitting. So that's where I was showing you these audio wavelength peaks before. If the peaks are too high up here, they're about to touch the edges, they'll actually call that out and they'll ask you to reduce those, which you could literally just highlight this section. And again, this is an as example. This time it wasn't the case, but I could just highlight this section and say, I don't want it to be this loud. And I could do negative 1.0, minus 1 decibel, and look, it shrunk. So that is one thing you can keep in mind as well. Other things you can do, which might come in handy if you're doing maybe a podcast but not an audiobook, is this click removal. So sometimes when people drink too much water right before they record, you get that clicking sound. I know it's really annoying. I know some of you are cringing right now, and that's why there is click removal. You can just automatically do that. Click removal. Cool. Take out my clicks. Oh, look at that. You see how a few things went away? So it actually automatically takes that out. So that way you don't get that cringiness. I would say if you're recording the audiobook, if you don't like how it sounds, I would actually just go and re-record it instead of doing the click removal on everything. Make sure your voice is really primed. And if you find your voice is getting a little hoarse, if you feel like you need to take big gulps of water because you're getting dry, like, that's a good time. Stop recording for the day. Make sure you're hydrated. Come back another time so you don't get those clicks at all. But you know, if you need to remove the clicks, go ahead and remove the clicks. So that's another thing you can do. And those are the main things that I end up using here to be able to get this to work. I hope this was helpful. So that is how you adjust your file so that they're going to be ACX compliant. Now, in general, if something is compliant with ACX, I always get it approved by Findaway Voices too. All right, that's how you do it. Seems easy, right? Okay, give yourself a lot of patience and time to learn this. You're not going to get it right the first time. That's okay. Maybe start recording your shortest chapters first, even if it means they're out of order. Get a handle on the system. Then when you're done, you can go back and record those very first chapters so that way they sound nicer based on the skills you've learned, but they're short, so it's not going to take you that long to re-record anyway. All right, got questions? Keep them coming in the comments below. And don't forget to tune into the next Authortube writing channel presentation. If you found this helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe, and even hit the thanks button. That lets YouTube know that you found this information valuable and they can get it in front of other authors, like us. Now you can go back to watching the Authortube Writing Conference.